is Dr. Sace with this art therapy project, continuing from video number 1. Where it left off, I was hiding or staying in a closet with some of my toys under fear that these two men would come back. I had been asleep. Something woke me up. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but my nose was bleeding, probably from having my nose twisted, broken. So I took the fur coat that was in the closet and began to wipe it off on the fur of the coat. That didn't work at all. That was terrible. However, there was a kind of a satin lining on the inside, and was able to wipe the blood off and get the blood to stop a bit. Then I heard voices. I heard my mother's voice. First of all, she screamed when she walked in the room. Then she called for me. I swung the door open. There I was, and I just ran over to her. With her were a couple other men that had come back into the house with her. One of the two men, I'm not sure who they were. I don't remember seeing them again or really after. One of the men knelt down from me and asked if I knew anything about what had happened, he called it a murder. And I wasn't sure who these people were. I was told not to say anything by the two men that had done the murder and had told me what to say. But I may have repeated some of the lines then, but I was kind of beside myself still. And I ran to my mother and just buried my face in her lap. Finally, she picked me up, put me over her shoulder, and I looked over at the floor. I saw Michael still laying there. I saw the gun there, some blood on the floor next to the canvases. And then my mother began to turn and to leave. I turned my head the other way, and at that point I saw the two men that were still standing there. The one on the left was the one that had asked me the questions. I hadn't talked to the other man, but my mother decided to get me down out of the studio down to the second floor of the house. One of the men, I believe it was the one that had talked to me, helped my mother carry me down the stairs, kind of a long flight of stairs down to the second floor. At the base of the stairs, there were two doors. The right-hand door went to a bedroom, I believe, that I'd never been in, and then the other went to the hallway. When we got down there, actually my mother took me to the bathroom, which was through the other bedroom and around on the other side, and got a towel and cleaned me up as I needed to be. And then we came back to the hallway. She sat in the chair there and attempted to compose herself until another man came. This man may have been a detective. My best guess is a detective. And my mother put me on the floor of the adjoining bedroom on that floor. The house looked like it belonged to an older woman. After my mother answered some questions about what had happened, and that she didn't really know much of the details or anything, but that I had been there, it was time for us to leave. So we walked down the hall, down the stairway, and out the front door. My mother had her car parked. There was like a early 1950 blue Pontiac, and by the time we got there were people standing on the lawn. Not many people, but maybe 4 or 5 neighbors had assembled there because something had been going on. And I walked for a ways with my mother. Then she picked me up and carried me into the car. We drove home, and when we got home, I went immediately up to my bedroom, and my mother began to clean me up some more, take my clothes off, and that's where she saw my shoulder. Something caused her to gasp. I'm not sure, a bruise or whatever. It still really hurt from where the guy had grabbed me. Anyways, my mother got my clothes off, went to the other room, to the bathroom, drew a bath, and then took me in to clean me up in our bathroom, which was a tiled bathroom, a space heater on the wall, which I always liked to sit in front of and dry off. And my father came in a little bit later, also was looking at what happened to my shoulder. The next night, a man came to the house. I believe this person was a detective because of the way he handled himself and introduced himself. My father was kind of watching like a hawk in terms of what I was saying. My parents did get some information out of me, not the complete story, but when the man that came to see us began to ask me questions, I repeated the lines that I was told by the gunman before, that I found the gun on the floor, I wanted to play cowboy, I picked up the gun and I shot him. Then my dad said it was time for me to stop with any kind of interview, and that night was over, and we'll continue on with part 3 in the next video.